Megatron is undeniably one of the most notorious and fearsome Transformers throughout all of his incarnations in the shows and movies. Yet for Decepticons so notable and powerful within the Transformer universe, we rarely ever see him triumph over his foes. Whether it be the Autobots or the Maximals. However, there are a few times Megatron has come extremely close to or even taken victory of the war away from his enemies, unleashing atrocities across the Earth, Cybertron, and the Transformers in the process.
Billions of Transformers, their extinguished sparks are on your hands!
Let's take a closer look at these different Megatrons and which one's victory caused the most chaos. From killing Optimus Prime to fully invading the Earth, the Megatron of the Michael Bay movies was truly ruthless and animalistic, but in the end, he never was able to fully win his battle against the Autobots, and perhaps, as we'll see, for good reason. In an alternate timeline to the first 2007 Transformers movie, instead of meeting his end at the hands of Sam Witwicky with the Allspark, Megatron managed to slaughter his would-be killer and defeat Optimus Prime. Claiming victory over the Autobots and taking the Transformers relic for himself, he became virtually immortal and began his conquest of Earth. The Allspark had given him the power to regenerate from any damage he took, like we saw in the movie, but also the power to terraform Earth into a new Cybertron. That is, until Optimus and Bumblebee were able to unleash a nanovirus developed by Sector 7 on the Decepticon leader, destroying the Allspark and Megatron with it, or so it would seem. Before his death, he'd planned for this outcome, so he had his mind downloaded into an Allspark interface module, so it would eventually be found by his greedy lieutenant, Starscream. After Starscream used the interface, he assimilated Megatron's mind, who appeared to him as a ghostly, broken down figure, spewing commands to stop the Autobots, as well as haunting the Seeker to give over control of his body to him. For a while, Starscream resisted his master's demands, but by the time he'd given in, it was too late. When Megatron resurfaced, he was greeted by a rogue faction of Decepticons and Optimus Prime, who teleported all of them to an inhospitable Unicron-altered version of Cybertron. Prime then managed to teleport Cybertron to a remote sector of space, leaving Megatron trapped in Starscream's body and on a dead world forever. In all honesty, this story kinda gives me Infinity War Endgame vibes.
Now that I once again have the Matrix, I will show you how I rid my universe of Autobots and unneeded dis-
Nonetheless, this wasn't the last Megatron to win in the parallel universe. Possessing the full power of the Matrix of Leadership and the power to travel and invade the multiverse at will, Megatron X is the most powerful incarnation of the character there has ever been. Nonetheless, instead of being born from an alternate ending of a battle, Megatron X's timeline was created from an act of mercy in the Transformers Cyberverse continuity. Just before the Autobot-Decepticon war was fully unleashed, the original Megatron gave Optimus Prime one final chance to join his cause. Since Optimus is Optimus, he declines, but instead of killing him there and then, Megatron spares his life and follows a relatable lifelong dream. In the long run, this act of mercy would be his downfall, and where his more successful version begins. Rather than spare Prime, Megatron X killed him and took his Matrix of Leadership, so he wouldn't hinder his plans. Taking his ideals and lack of mercy to the extreme, he used the Allspark to create the perfect Decepticons and eradicated all Autobots alongside even his own Decepticons. Regardless of how loyal they were or how long they'd fought for Megatron, if they were of no use, they were of no value. So when the universe-hopping aliens, the Quintessons, invaded Cybertron, Megatron X easily destroyed them and took their multiverse traveling technology for himself. Although he ruled unchallenged, it wasn't until the original Megatron stole the Matrix and retreated back to his own universe that forced X to venture and attempt to conquer the main Cyberverse timeline. And as we see by the end of Season 3, Megatron X essentially kills himself and then is imprisoned within Astral Chain. Although, if you're like me and don't live in Hasbro's definition of the globe, we'll have to wait and see what happens to him in Season 4.
I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
third, possibly most ruthless and genocidal Megatron in this video comes from the Beast era of the Transformers Generation 1 timeline, and one where it was impossible. Despite probably being the most successful antagonist in Transformers, this Megatron started with more humbler goals and didn't seek to hold power solely for himself. And it was because of this that he ended up becoming the tyrant that he is in Beast Machines. But make no mistake, he always saw himself as superior to everybody else regardless.
I am your creator. Please me and I shall reward you. Disappoint me, and you shall suffer.
Outnumber them more than 2 to 1.
Yes?
We have twice their firepower.
Yes.
Well, we should give them a chance to surrender.
Question my command again and I will tear.
The Beast era takes place long after the G1 cartoon, where the Autobots and Decepticons had evolved into the smaller, more energy-efficient Maximals and Predacons, respectively. Unfortunately, the Predacons got the short end of the stick as second-class citizens, due to their ancestors losing the war. Consequently, it was for this reason our Predacon Megatron came up with the plan to reverse the course of history, and embark on a mission to prehistoric Earth to kill humanity and the then still dormant Autobots. Hence, the Beast Wars cartoon begins. But in short, he lost, mainly due to him relying heavily on the upgrades to his Beast mode, and ultimately his soft spot for Dinobot and even his other Predacons, who would constantly betray him or never get the job done. In short, in the aftermath of the war, his followers were dead, his method of winning was destroyed, and he was being transported through time to prison. However, he managed to break free and accidentally time travelled back to Cybertron, far enough that his captors hadn't arrived yet. Since no one at that point knew Megatron was a war criminal, he secretly engineered a virus that would paralyze and tamper with a Transformer's ability to transform. Once the virus was deployed, the whole planet was engulfed, and very few managed to escape stasis. This is where it kind of gets twisted. Predacon Megatron went on to rip out the sparks from every Cybertronian, regardless of their allegiance, and lock them away in his throne room. Their leftover metallic corpses were then recycled into armies of mindless Viacon drones, which Megatron commanded with just his very will. He wanted and was the sole spark and mind ruling Cybertron, as he learned from his mistakes on heavily relying on his treacherous Predacon brethren, and he would go on to rule Cybertron up until the very end of Transformers Beast Machines.
Starscream.
I understand your weaknesses, and that's why I'm the victor, and you lay there like a whimpering dog.
Transformers Armada was the first full reboot in the franchise, and the dynamic between Optimus and Megatron is significantly different because of it. They weren't old friends who split on different beliefs, neither were they brothers-in-arms, but rather militaristic rivals who had fought for so long it had become their purpose. Yet they still shared a mutual respect for one another. Hence, when Armada Megatron used a weapon, the Hydra Cannon, to disintegrate the Earth, and Optimus sacrificed himself to stop it, he didn't conquer the Earth in Cybertron, he didn't exterminate the Autobots, he didn't even laugh or celebrate. He was in disarray.
Optimus!
His sworn adversary, who he'd fought for countless millennia and tried to best ever since, turned to dust before his own receptors. Consequently, Megatron's largest victory turned out to be his greatest defeat. He no longer had that drive and lust for battle since there was no one left strong enough to be a challenge. So in short, he gave up. He didn't even go ahead with destroying the Earth. Instead, he just ordered the Decepticons to retreat to Cybertron. It took Optimus Prime's resurrection to restore the tyrant's crave for battle and domination. Despite being one of the very few instances where the Decepticon has outright held the Autobots and the Earth at gunpoint, it can be argued that Megatron's true victory wasn't the defeat of Optimus, but the second chance opportunity to face off against his Autobot rival again. When it comes down to whose victory caused the most chaos and anarchy, I think it's safe for us to rule Armada Megatron as the least destructive. The alternate movie Megatron would come next, who in comparison became immortal, slaughtered and terrorized humankind, and slowly began converting parts of Earth into a new Cybertron. Nonetheless, he was soon disposed of indefinitely. Deciding who came second was brutal, as both Megatron X and Beast Megatron are savage in their own different ways. In the end, however, the former just falls short, yet X's tyranny still had infinitely more reach. On the other hand, none of the others really committed atrocities on the scale of the Predacon incarnation. And I'm not just referring to how he butchered the entire Transformers species. From ripping their sparks from their bodies to reprogramming them into psychotic, sometimes the complete opposite of the Transformer they once were, Megatron sadistically made his former enemies essentially fight against their friends when war was on his doorstep, whilst he, for the most part, planned to ascend to godhood/primushood. Of course, there have been other times where the Decepticon tyrant has almost claimed victory, like where he invaded Earth and was transporting Cybertron to the atmosphere in Dark of the Moon. The end of Transformers Prime Season 2 saw Megatron destroy the Autobot base, and seemingly Optimus along with it, and by Beast Hunters, he was ruling Earth from his throne atop Darkmount. Even when he's been upgraded to Galvatron, there's instances where he's won, but I'll probably save that for another vid. However, I wanted to mainly stick to Megatron's triumphs that we've seen on screen, and not make the video overly too long. But who do you think was the most successful or most destructive version of Megatron? Let me know down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's quite different to what I usually make, but was fun nonetheless. If you did, then leave a like, and subscribe if you want to see more Transformer videos like this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your day, and see you soon.